end, I just want, our goal is to make sure that everybody has all the information available about the application. And again, we wanted you to be able to see the site, at least some of it, for yourselves. The site, as you may know, is about 1,000 acres. We're under contract to buy everything but about 200. So the site behind you to the sort of southwest, it's about 200 acres. That is still being remediated by Hercules, and that's part of their former TNT operations. They, probably several years before that's done, we're not buying that. So I just want to be clear about that. Everything else we're buying, so from what you're facing in this direction, about 800 acres or so, we are buying. The plan, I'll show you the plans in a moment. Again, everything's on the website. The plan is to build and develop on about 200 or so. Did you have a question?
Yeah, where is the website?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, it's roxburycommercecenter.com. Thank you. You can check it out. The plans are on there. Everything that we submitted to the town, to the planning board, is on there, and you can see it for yourselves. roxburycommercecenter.com. So hopefully it's pretty memorable. Most of the site will not be developed. It will be preserved in one way or the other. Again, about 220 acres or so will be developed. From here, I would say, you see this line of buildings to my right, your left, and then beyond it, you probably can't even see it because of the vegetation. There's a yellow shed further out. About halfway between those buildings is where the closest building to us would be, and everything else is going to be out in that direction. So I'll show you a plan that shows it. But before I do, let me say a little bit about Harts Mountain. We're a New Jersey real estate developer. We, you may know the name from the old pet food company years and years and years ago, sold a lot of pet supplies. That was the genesis of the company many years ago. It evolved into what is now a real estate development company. We're no longer in the pet food industry, but there is a company called Harts Mountain, not related to us any longer. So a real estate development company. We do mostly industrial. We do have a lot of apartment buildings and a couple of office buildings and some retail, but primarily we work in the industrial and multifamily asset classes. So we probably have certainly well over 10 million square feet of warehouses in New Jersey. We have warehouses up and down the East Coast, from Carolinas, the Atlanta area, Maryland, but New Jersey is our home. We're based here. So the site is this plan again on the website. This is the entirety of the site, and you can see all the way up here, sort of the eastern tip of the site, and if anyone needs to get closer, you're certainly welcome to. All the way down to the southern tip. So we are right about here. You can see where I'm pointing. So we're about here, and this is where the buildings are going to be, or that's where we're proposing to put the buildings. Everything else is going to remain vacant, and we will not develop it. To elaborate on that a little bit, I'll show you another plan. This is colorized, so it's just a little easier, and forgive the wind, but a little easier to sort of make out the different areas. Yeah, these are not made for the outdoors, so. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll just let that go, and I'll hold it up here for you to see. Probably easier.
Where is Route 80?
Okay, so Route 80 is up here. It's on the northern part. All right. Berkshire Valley Road is down here. Route 46 is right here, and then Hercules Road is here.
And the trap shooting is on the yard.
Yeah, right. Actually, yeah. So there's some shooting that goes on in this area.
These roads that are there right now? New roads to the south?
No. Well, there'll be a new driveway that goes out to Howard Boulevard, but no new roads out in the public area.
Where would Howard Boulevard be?
Over on the left.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the last drawing? It kind of shows the existing a little bit better.
Yeah, the only reason I show this, and I will in a moment, but so the area in green, and it continues up here, the area in green is all being dedicated to the DEP, to the state. That's going to be an easement. They're going to have a right to, well, this is being negotiated by Hercules, not by Harts Mountain. But that ultimately will be dedicated to the state. So there will be no development on that this area here, you know, if you know the area, there's this huge ridge, and it continues out in this direction. That will be dedicated to the state. What we are proposing to build is the area in purple, and that's all we're proposing to build. The area in blue is an area that will remain open, space, but we haven't yet. That's something we'll discuss hopefully with the planning board and the town, whether they just want us to deed restrict it against future development, or maybe they want us to give an easement to the town. That we're open to discussions, but the point is that will not be developed. The area in yellow is the area behind us here, behind you, that I described that we're not buying. We will have negotiated a right to buy it in the future, but when it's clean, and that won't be for like 7 years, give or take. Again, Hercules is cleaning it up, so I don't want to make any representations about that. The little areas in orange we are buying, and I'll show you a different map in a moment, but we're not proposing any industrial development on those sites. And by the way, the areas in orange, the operations here, and this gentleman probably knows as well as anybody, former Hercules employee, there was never any work that was done on these orange sites. So it's relatively virgin land.
Hi everyone. Could you just identify yourself if you're from Hercules or if you're from Hearts, so we know who's from the community?
Yeah, there's no one else from Hearts, I can tell you that.
You're the only person, not
Yeah.
this gentleman?
Oh, I'm a
No,
resident.
okay, great. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So you, and then you're from Hercules.
Well,
No, he's
We're
an
all-
old
I'm
employee.
retired in
owners?
1992.
yeah,
Okay,
let me
so
be
property
clear. They're not
owners.
with Hercules. They're retired
Right.
employees that live in the
Okay.
community. So
Thank you.
yeah.
What type of business?
When you said Hercules was doing the work, Hercules doesn't exist
Well,
anymore.
so that's a fair
Ashland,
point.
maybe?
Ashland, that's a fair point. Ashland Corporation is a chemical company that acquired Hercules many years ago. We just colloquially use Hercules as a placeholder. But you're right. Ashland is the name of the company that's actually performing the remediation.
So if you receive approval to build here, what type of companies will go into these, like warehouses?
We don't know. It's a spec project, so
Oh,
it
wow,
could.
so we don't even know what's coming in. Like, we're
Yeah.
building it, but we don't know what will be contained in those warehouses?
It will be certain uses. I don't know who this is driving onto the site. There are the zoning permits industrial uses and a variety of other uses. So it'll be uses that are consistent with the zoning. But right, we don't know what exactly. We don't know who the tenants are going to be, and that's the case with many of our projects and many projects throughout the state, honestly. So this orangey color, we're proposing some ball fields here. This is clean. There's never any active activities in the former operations. And the area right on Hercules Road, it's about 13 acres or so. The other area in orange, that's an area that the town recently, I guess about a year ago, rezoned that for multifamily to comply with some affordable housing litigation. So that's what we're proposing. It's just what the town has zoned the property for. And we're proposing to build it, that we would build it at no cost to the town. And
Yeah, well, everybody on Hercules Road that lives here and property owners is not happy about that.
That's a no-go, that's a deal breaker,
Yeah.
because you put low-income housing there, you might as well kiss that goodbye, I'll tell you that now.
well,
Not that it's low income,
it's not
but
low, right? It would be 20% set aside, so 20% of the units
But you're putting 110 condos according to their plan.
would be rentals.
On that spot, this little road, 110 condos, that's what, 250
An extra
people,
1,000
200
vehicles,
cars?
no way,
Yeah.
that this road isn't designed for it, it's supposed to be low traffic and discouraged. Can't happen.
Look, first of all, I should add, this driveway that currently exists, these operations won't use it. It'll be available for emergency use, police, rescue, etc. Our operations will not be using these roads at all in this direction.
What roads will you be using?
One driveway out to Howard Boulevard up by Route 80. That's it. All the traffic will go that way. I'll show you that in a moment. Look, I understand the point about the affordable housing. The town has rezoned the property for that, and we're only proposing exactly what they've already contemplated. And you know,
Put the ball field there or something.
Put the ball field on the corner, don't put the housing there, because we're not set up to take another 1,000 to 2,000
We have
vehicles
speed,
every
we have
single
speed
day.
humps on the
I know.
road to
I'll be firm,
control
yeah.
the traffic as it is, because it was a cut through and, we wanted to get rid of that.
Yeah, we had this discussion with the town.
I'm sure you did.
They
And that's,
didn't invite us to the meeting where they okayed it, and they were supposed to.
yeah, I don't. That's we were not involved in that, and all we know about it is after the fact.
Yeah, we'll be talking to the town.
Okay, well, I'll let you talk to the town about that. So, but that's what we're proposing as part of the overall project. So again, I think this gentleman asked to see this, and it does provide greater context because it's the entirety of the site. And again, you can see in the colored areas what we're proposing exactly. Again, the bulk of it being this. I'll show you close-up plats in a moment. We are proposing some ball fields down here on Route 46. This is the area I described as being remediated currently by Ashland. This area along 46 was never used. It's clean. That's not being remediated because it doesn't need to be. This is what we depict as sort of a concept.
Sure,
sorry,
absolutely.
a concept of the affordable housing. Again, I say affordable housing. It's only 20% set aside for affordable units. The other 80% we market. And then ball fields here on this piece right across Berkshire Valley Road and the Morris Canal. We in our application we've said, and this is the case, we're open to other ideas for those fields or for what we're proposing as ball fields. If the town would rather have a playground or something else there, we thought ball fields would be a good idea. A lot of us have kids and a lot of active sports and so forth. So that's what we're proposing. Let me just call on this woman first. I'm sorry, because she had raised her hand.
So, this is for the community. So,
Well, first of all, who are you?
hi, my name is Kathy Simon. I was an environmental student at Drew University. I attended there for 4 years, and I'm a resident of Roxbury. One of the reasons why my husband and family and I moved here, real quick, because I know that this gentleman has a lot to tell us, is because of the pristine area that we live in. We should be so proud. A couple years ago, Roxbury was voted, and our township was voted as an area to really move into. We have to understand why, I'm going to just say it in a nutshell, why corporations want to come in and put their trash up in Mooney Mountain to make New Jersey's shores look clean. We got all that trash and all that mess in Mooney Mountain. Now do we need more ball fields? Do we need more parks? Do we need this? People are profiting. Right now, I went to the township meeting, I spoke to the mayor and the councilman. Really quick, I'm just gonna say, they said they turned down the first proposal. They wanna see what else is happening. The thing is, if we start taking away our green space, we have nothing. Resale for people to come here, it's just gonna be warehouses. Look at Route 10, where they just built more storage areas on Route 10 and just bulldozed everything down.
And I appreciate it, but I would prefer if we could just see it, because I don't want to turn this into a political
Okay.
meeting. I'd love to
Thank
see
you.
it, so I can get out of
Okay,
here.
I
Just
hear
an
you.
interest. I mean, I appreciate
No,
it,
I love that you
but
said that,
I just
so
like
just
to
put that out
go ahead and
there.
get through his presentation,
Okay.
then I can go.
And this
Fair
gentleman
enough.
had a question too.
Between those ball fields on Berkshire Valley and the houses, right to the left of it, to the left.
Oh, you're down here.
Alright, there's a shooting range.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen with that?
We would discuss that in the town. We're happy to let it stay there. Of course, if there are going to be ball fields nearby, we have to make sure it's safe. So that's something we would discuss with the town. We're happy to keep the shooting range there.
Approximately from Berkshire Valley Road to the limited clearing that you got on the
So you want to show me where?
approximately how far is this distance to that distance?
I actually have a plan that shows that. It depends on where.
Likewise from here to Howard Boulevard.
Yeah, it's about 1,000, 1,200 feet, depending on where you are exactly. And of course, there's this ridge. So I have some exhibits in a moment I'll show you that show the
So that's
view
the
impacts.
topography of the ridge.
Yeah, you would never, from this area of Berkshire Valley Road, you wouldn't be able to see anything because of the ridge and the trees. But the trees, many of them, lose leaves in the wintertime, we understand.
And between Howard Boulevard and the clearing?
Yeah, about the same. It's a little further, but I'll show you that in a moment with the exact measurements. And the other thing I should add is we are proposing, and there's certainly sorry.
Could you point out the main entrance on Howard
Yeah.
Boulevard?
So what we're proposing, which is close to the current, is going to be here. So it's across. There's an industrial project here. It's right across from that. That's what we're proposing. Is the only entrance and exit. Again, this for emergency access only, police and emergency vehicles. But the only access, and I'll show you the exhibit in a moment so you understand the details of what the driveway would look like. But trucks, and I know that's a concern. We're sensitive to traffic, and we're sensitive to truck traffic in particular. Trucks will only be able to make a right-hand turn out of the site onto Howard Boulevard to go up to Route 80. They will not be able to make a left-hand turn out of the site to go down into town. And we know that from conversations with the master plan committee. That would be a concern. They didn't want trucks down in this neighborhood or anywhere other than going directly to the highway. And frankly, we, again, as I said earlier, we don't know exactly the tenants that will go in because this is a speculative project. But truck drivers don't want to go through residential neighborhoods anyway. They want to take as few turns as possible. But notwithstanding, we are designing this so that trucks can only make a right-hand turn out of the site up towards Route 80.
What about into the site?
Into the site, we anticipate, we've done a lot of projections.
That's the worst.
Yeah, they've done a lot of projections, and we feel most of the truck traffic, I don't necessarily mean passenger vehicle traffic, but truck traffic would primarily be coming in from Route 80. I mean, it's an active truck corridor. And we're creating what would be a new left turn lane to get into the site, so it wouldn't block traffic coming down Howard Boulevard in a southerly direction.
So you're proposing to increase Howard Boulevard?
We'll widen it at that location. You know what, I might as well take that opportunity now.
Yeah.
Since we're on it. I do want to talk about the hiking trails we're proposing, but let's do this since there are a lot of questions about it. So
yeah, this is
and if anyone wants to come closer, by all means. And when I'm done talking about it, I'll leave these up. You can come take a look at them more closely if you prefer. So this is.
Now, have you talked to the county about all this?
We've had some basic very preliminary conversations with the county. Yes, it is a county road.
Yeah, right.
We also know, by the way, and many
That
of you
they're
probably
redoing
do,
it,
that the state DOT is reconfiguring the interchange further north, right
Exactly.
on, right? So
On that point, has
Yeah.
anyone contacted in coordination with the state?
yeah, we have been.
You have
Yes.
been, so they know about the
They know
changes
what we
in-
are proposing.
in
We
truck
know what they're
traffic at the
proposing.
intersection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and what what they're proposing is going to be great for this site because it will, and the traffic in between this site.
Yeah, we
and
want to make
that
sure that their
interchange.
project
Yeah,
takes into
no,
account
it's
this
we
project.
have worked with them to make sure that this design dovetails with what they're doing.
Because we have many accidents in that area.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think we do have a traffic consultant, and they've gotten all the traffic data on that. I can't say I memorized everything, but we have looked at all of that. So just to follow up on some of those comments and questions, you can see this right-hand turn leads to, and my arms aren't long enough, but it leads to an acceleration lane to allow traffic that's coming up out of the site and up the hill making a right-hand turn to merge with traffic that's already on the road. We didn't want trucks pulling out and people who are coming north to have to hit their brakes because they're stuck behind a
And
truck.
that acceleration line is part of their original plan from.
It's part of our proposal.
So you're putting okay.
Yeah,
so
so
you're
it's not
putting
there
in-
now.
No, I know, but they were talking about an acceleration line when they proposed it. Their last proposal for the new entrance and exits on 80. That's why I'm asking.
Oh,
is it-
yes, that's a DOT.
Right.
Yeah,
So is
that's
that
correct.
the same line? Is that
No,
the same?
no. You're talking about the interchange up at Route 80. This
Well,
is
that's right there.
this is the interchange isn't shown here. It's off.
But
off
that's
the
the
map.
exit
Howard
right
Boulevard.
This is our what would be the driveway up
Yeah,
here
but-
onto Howard Boulevard.
Right. Okay.
Different acceleration. You're right that they're changing.
Right. Okay. So that's out of the area then, that
Well,
acceleration lane.
we can only show so much on this
Okay.
on this.
No, I'm just
plan,
asking
yeah.
because I know they're adding one onto 80. I don't know whether that one was part of that.
That is what DOT is proposing.
Right.
This is what we're proposing for this is Howard Boulevard.
Right. Okay.
This
I
is what we're
understand.
proposing as the driveway.
Right.
And this is the only way trucks will be able to come out the site. We'll probably do what some of you may know, like the term headbanger,
Right,
something
okay.
that hangs down so a tall vehicle can't get under it, would go here. Passenger vehicles would be able to make a left-hand turn, but trucks would only be able to make a right-hand turn and head up to Route 80. I mentioned the left-hand turn lane we're proposing when as part of widening Howard Boulevard. I don't know who these people are. There is, you may hear, well, they're done. So part of the reason we really couldn't bring it back further into the site is if you're able to see that big yellow shed out there, they're still it's not really remediation. They're grinding up old concrete. We couldn't really go out further than this point because there is work being done. I assume that those are some of the workers. So I hope those are some of the workers. So, so you see this left turn lane coming down the southerly direction on Howard Boulevard, and that's again, so for not just trucks, passenger vehicles, any vehicles that want to make a left-hand turn into the site, they'll stack there, and they won't interfere with traffic coming in the southbound direction on Howard Boulevard.
Would there be a light?
Yeah, I
there?
hope
Yes,
so.
so yes, we are proposing a traffic light there, and we would work, it's the county, and who has jurisdiction, we would work with the county for the sequencing of the traffic light, because the point would be to not inhibit traffic on Howard Boulevard to the extent possible.
So that entrance, I take it, is where that construction gate is already?
It's not, it's close, but it's not exactly where it is.
So it's not up over the hill where the other entrance right before 80?
That's correct, it's I think between the two, yeah.
So it's closer to 80 or back further?
Well,
it's
there's one on either
Yeah,
side,
right,
so it's
yeah,
closer
gotcha.
to one and further.
It's by BJ's.
Yeah, no.
I don't know, that
No.
there is a
Further up.
industrial project here, or building here, I don't know the name of it. It's not, yeah, not BJ's down here, no, it's
No, it's up here.
It's up,
the north gate.
Right.
it's near the north gate, it's not exactly at that location, but it's gonna be up here, you know, where I'm pointing, it's not down this way. So like, across from the, I guess it's the Ledgewood Mall, there's an exit from the site, it's not there, there's another exit up here, it's further up.
Like across from Blue Diamond.
I think, yeah, I think that's this. I think that's this. That's correct. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So you can see what we're proposing by way of traffic. Again, we know that that's a real concern for the community, and
I think it's a real concern of what you're gonna propose over here by developing those 125 units. You're gonna make your 20 million, use that to develop the site, and we gotta live with the traffic that goes up and down that road, the extra 1,000 vehicles. That's where the traffic's gonna come. Not over there, that's not gonna be a big issue, that's not gonna be a problem for us. But
For
it's gonna
your-
be a
for your
problem
street, right.
in the back here with that 1,000 extra vehicles that are coming up and down the road, where we've had kids that were hit by vehicles, and we got kids on the road now. You know, so that, you know, these kids here live on the street. I don't want cars coming down and it's having them go to the hospital.
we don't want that either. And again, that's something that
That
the
they can't
town
do
has
nothing
already.
Well, listen, you can point the finger at the town, but you're the developer, and you're not putting those things in there, and you're losing money. You're gonna be making that money, you're gonna use that money to develop the property, just like the people did in Cranberry. That used to be nice farmland, now it's 3 miles of nothing but warehouses and low-income housing on the other side of the road. That's exactly what it is. And you know, yeah, this doesn't look bad here, but take a look at it, because in the next 10 or 15 years, this is all gonna be warehouses, and you're gonna say, how did this happen?
Well, this much will be warehouses. That's what we're proposing,
That's what you're
and nothing else.
proposing now, but I know how it's gonna work.
As I said at the outset, we're proposing to restrict all of the other areas against future development. So legally, there would be an inability to develop anything in this area
That's what I'm worried about.
down here with industrial. I don't know how to be more clear.
It would be deed restricted.
Yeah, right. So it would be.
But they can change they change zoning all the time.
No. This is not zoning. This is, and I think maybe I said it before you arrived, but the area in green would be deed restricted with an easement to the state, which means the state,
Who's gonna own it?
the state, the DEP, would not allow development. They think it's an environmentally sensitive area. So the area in green, it would never, and we're stipulating that as part of our application. It'll never be developed. The area in blue, again, I said this earlier, but the area in blue, we're not developing. We want to discuss with the town the means by which we would preserve that, but we would assure and stipulate as part of our application that will never be developed. Whether it's a deed to the state, or to the town, or simply a deed restriction on the property, we'll discuss it with the town, but that would never be developed. So my point is the area in purple is all we're proposing. Again, other than a ball field, maybe here, and I guess we'll see what happens with the affordable housing component. But as far as industrial development, what you're seeing in purple is all there would be.
The area in purple behind Hercules Road is what's gonna go there, that little strip.
Down here?
That's it.
Nothing, it's just part of the site. So we are proposing some hiking trails. And where you parked, or I assume where you parked, that will remain a parking lot and the trailhead. And then we would create a trail that would come up here and behind us here and up into the ridge. And it would, this whole thing, this whole area would be hiking trails that are available to the public. And so that's, the area in purple is gonna be basically a trail. Yes?
Is there going to be any connection to the train station, i.e. Current or future use for freight or anything?
No, it's not. Well, there is a rail line that currently is an old rail line that comes up here. You know, I suppose if a tenant, it's very rare these days, but I suppose if a tenant wanted to use that rail line, we'd make it available, but, you know, it connects up here, it's not going through any of the neighborhoods or anything.
Well, what had been suggested years ago was affordable housing that's right along the railroad track of the commuter line. So there'd be walking distance
the
of
train station?
seniors to a commuter line, which is already, the station is there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's something we'd be open to. That's not part of our proposal. If the town wants it, I think, you know, we're willing to talk about it, but we're not proposing that. So again, the hiking trails would come up all through this area. There's already a lot of trails back here, a lot of paths and some old roads that we're just gonna keep for the public to use as hiking trails. And again, I want to be very clear, these areas, as far as I can reach here, will never be developed. That's what, one way or another, they will be deed restricted or deeded, so they will never be developed.
Sorry, I got here a little late. What was the yellow area?
Yes, I did describe that earlier. That's the area behind where you're standing now. That's currently being remediated by Ashland. It's the parent company for Hercules. We have a right to buy it, but not until the site is cleaned up, which is about 7 years from now. It's 200 acres, so we're not touching that, proposing anything for that. And I mean, Ashland is going to take their time remediating it. When they're done, you know, we'll see what comes of it. But
so realistically, only the green is the only area that the state says you can't build.
Well,
whatever you say today, 2 years from now, you can put a proposal in for the blue.
No, because as part of our application, we're stipulating to the planning board, which is the board that would have jurisdiction over this, that we won't build on it. So
is that like a lifetime now?
Yeah.
Like a lifetime
Forever.
to build on it?
Forever. So if we get the approval,
which areas are you?
In blue.
The
Blue.
Green is going to the state.
Right.
We would probably own it, but it would be deed restricted, so we could never do anything on it. Blue, we're proposing to the town. If you give us the approvals, we'll never do anything with the blue. You just tell us how you want to manage that. Do you want to own it, town? Do you want us to own it, but just have a deed restriction against development? That's our proposal for the blue.
Buffer zone.
Yeah, effectively.
Where was the other smaller soccer field? Did I see two soccer?
Yeah, so I'll show you that it would be down, that's on this plan, right down on Route 46. And for those who got here a little late, our thought on that is we're proposing ball fields, but if the town or the planning board were to say to us, we'd rather just see a park with some swings, playground, you know, whatever, you know, we're open to discussions on that.
It looks like it was in the blue section, that's why I was asking.
It was in the yellow section, but I do want to be, I'm sorry, it is in the blue section, you're right, it's right, well, again, the easels I brought were not very reliable, so it's down in here, that's correct.
Okay.
You're right, yeah. And those areas, again, for those who may have come late, where we're proposing recreational facilities, have never been part of the operations here. They're not clean, they're not dirty, they're clean, they're effectively virgin land.
I have a quick question. There's wetlands here, and
Yeah.
I know there's watersheds, Black River watershed. How is that gonna affect the drinking water in the watersheds and the wetlands?
It won't. Yeah,
How
so
about waste products going into anything? Waste
it won't.
products?
Yeah, so everything is gonna be self-contained. The sewage, the waste will be self-contained. The water will be self-contained. We're not using public water.
What do you mean? Educate me. Self-contained. I honestly don't know. What that
It means we're not gonna be using the public water.
Town water.
Yeah,
It's self-contained because you bring something into us?
No, because we'll be collecting it. For those who know, there's a water tower up here.
Right.
We're gonna be
Yeah.
using those existing facilities.
And that could sustain the amount that we're building.
We don't expect, it's an industrial site, we wouldn't expect needing a lot of water, but
And that
yes.
goes into the Hercules aquifer, the underground
if we
water.
had- housing.
We're not connected to, you know what,
That's
that's a
where
good
that water
question,
comes
and I don't know the answer to that.
That's where that water comes from.
Yeah,
Where's that,
is that
sir?
right? Okay, so that,
Where was that? I
yeah,
missed
that's,
that.
The Hercules aquifer is underground right here.
Right, okay.
It's not underground,
So if
right?
housing comes in, won't we be using that, or no?
housing wouldn't come in here.
Okay, just the area.
No, the
by
housing-
you.
Housing would be
Yeah,
over
that-
here.
yeah,
That's
that's
like the
right, that's
beginning.
across
Gotcha.
Hercules Road down here.
That would be
Okay.
city water.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the industrial project, all self-contained. We will be complying with all, in fact, we have applications pending now with DEP, you know, they have jurisdiction over wetlands, they have jurisdiction over the stormwater management. And there will be, I didn't bring the particular plans, but there, if you look at the plans, the detailed site plans that are on the website I described earlier, you'll see there's, I think, 57, it may not be exactly right, detention basins throughout the site, so that'll manage the stormwater. Yeah, from an environmental impact standpoint,
Yes.
this project won't have any.
Except for the wildlife and the habitats,
Well-
and tearing down the trees and all that.
But the area we're developing is all area that's been compromised for 100+ years. So the areas that we are preserving, honestly, a lot of it has been compromised, but we're still preserving, you know, what would be.
But I don't think the deer know that.
That's right.
Deer don't
You
care.
might
Or the
go- well,
coyotes.
we've seen bear on the site,
Dog
sure. Yeah,
walking
we've seen
around.
bear. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's fox. We haven't seen them. I've been out
We know.
on the site
We got
plenty.
fox.
And yeah, so yeah, there's plenty of turkeys. There's a great pond on the site, so that's going to stay. We're not touching that. But most of the site is being preserved. And look, much of the site has environmentally sensitive areas, and we're not. It has wetlands. It has steep slopes. We're gonna work in the steep slopes a little bit, as much as is permitted by the local ordinance, but and we're gonna fill a little bit of the wetlands as we are permitted to by DEP with their permitting program, but we're trying to do this in a way that's gonna have minimal impact on not just the community, but the environmental
So
components
just,
of this site.
if I could ask a question, so just so I have a concept in my head. So you have, what percentage is going to be built on or utilized in your purple in the whole big picture, like,
It's
you know?
about 25%.
Okay, that's what
It's about 20. It's 200. Well, I think the acreage. No, it's not on this particular plan. So if you look at orange, green, purple, and blue, that's about 800+ acres.
Right.
The area in purple is about 220 acres. And I'm not counting the area in yellow because it's not part of it.
Right.
We're not buying it. It's not part of the project. So these, because there were some questions about it, these are, again, very conceptual. This is what we're willing to build, but if the town prefers something else, these are the ball fields that would be on Route 46. The area in I guess that greenish yellow, that's wetlands. So we're staying out of that. We're not going to touch it. There's a little bit of uplands down here on Route 46, and that's, you know, we could propose a Wawa or a quick, I don't want to say quick check because I understand,
Yeah,
sorry,
that's
but,
very
you know,
touchy.
but we're not, you know, that's not what we're proposing for that. We're proposing a ball field, but again, open to any other suggestions.
Are they gonna be grass fields or turf fields that you're proposing?
You know, yeah, whatever, honestly.
I
I
know
think
down the road, the one that spent all the money into turf fields in it.
And that would be the town.
Look, my town is, you know, there's the pros and cons. I get it. There's people who hate the turf, people who love the turf. But that's something that we would have a conversation with the town about that. We're just proposing fields conceptually, and then as we have a dialogue with the town, and you know, and the town.
Did you invite the town today? Was anybody here?
We've invited representatives of the community to the site, and they've so far
Are
declined.
there town
but-
council members here? No?
I'm here.
Oh, well,
Maggie's here.
Can you tell me, has the sale gone through on this property?
no, it has
No.
not. So I said at the outset, we're the contract purchaser. We would not, you know.
You are aware that
I
the
love
original
it.
cleanup plan for this site,
'Cause you're
the entire site had to be cleaned up, including the trinitro.
Oh yeah, we're not. Yes, we.
So you can't just cut that off until everything's cleaned up, according to the original cleanup plan that was
Well, we
filed
can-
with the state.
again, we're not buying that, and DEP, as far as we know, is assuming we get the permits, would allow us to build here while this is still being remediated. And I should add too, you know, we are proposing, it's, I showed you the plan earlier, 2.5 million square feet in 5 buildings. That's not going off all at once. I also want to be clear about that. It would be phased. This is probably a better plan to show you for that. It would be phased. We haven't decided exactly on the phasing yet, but we'd probably build the big one first, and then the 2 small ones in other phases. But it's, you know, it's just, we're not going to build it all at once. I want to make sure you're aware of that. Did you?
Are you going to talk about the drainage water? Like,
yeah, everything is going to be treated on site.
You're talking about 2 million square feet of building.
Yeah.
And how many square feet of parking lot? And how much permeable?
That's all. That's why I said earlier there are, I think, 57 detention basins. That's why, because you know, everything is going to be treated pursuant to the DEP rules. They have stormwater rules that are in effect, and we will be complying with all of them.
And where does it go from?
It will go, and some of it will, most of it, a lot of it, will infiltrate into the ground. And probably all of it. Honestly, it's a question for our civil engineers. But yeah, I think most of it will be infiltrating back into the ground. And I should say, you know, at some point we hope there will be a public hearing before the planning board on these applications, and I encourage anyone to come out. Those more detailed type of questions they'll be addressed at the hearings. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a civil engineer, but those are, you know, those are more detailed type questions I have the ability to answer right now. Anyway, I was going through these plans. This is the concept, and I get that there are some concerns about the residential portion, the affordable component of this site, but this is just a concept layout that's part of the plan. And you know, again, we're just proposing, you know, if you want to take a picture, you come on and take a picture. But this is again on the website. So if you want to look at the website, but this is.
I had trouble with your website.
Yeah,
and I'm a computer guy, so it doesn't work right.
It doesn't clear up to read the, you know, your black print.
You can't get the screen if the links don't work.
Okay.
It takes you back to the main screen.
All right, we'll look into that.
Are these for sale or for rent?
These would be rental apartments.
All of them?
Yes. Yeah.
So
80% of them would be market, 20% would be affordable.
So 80% you guys own and you rent out, none of the condos?
No, we would own 100% of them.
Well, you own 100% of them, and so there's going to be, how many again?
I think it was 110.
110.
Yeah.
So you're going to have 110 rentals on this little quiet road?
Condos or rentals?
Rentals. Yeah, that's what.
It's going to be rentals.
Yeah, that's what
we were told condos, by the way.
How many story project is it?
I'm sorry?
How many stories is the multifamily?
I don't remember. We do have some proposed renderings on the. Is it 3? Okay, thank you.
Higher than 3.
Is that right? Okay, yeah, it's compliant with the zoning. So, and I believe we have architectural renderings on the website, and maybe that's not working. But
Age restricted? Age restricted by any chance? A percentage?
I don't remember the details of what this town settlement is with fair share housing. If that's an option, by all
That
means.
is part of an option. That could be one of them.
That's a better option than not an option.
But you just never know. But that could be one of those.
Yeah, we're going to zoning, and if that's an option, we would certainly, you know, we would do that if that's, yeah. We don't want to run afoul of the settlement with fair share housing.
No.
So I think I've shown you most of the exhibits. I did there, since there were some questions about the views and distances. We have, and this is maybe hard to see for many of you, but you can come closer, and I'll leave these up. I'll leave all these up here for after I'm done with my comments. Anyone who wants to take a look at it. The point of these is another one I'll show you in a moment, but I only got 2 hands. These are to show the view impacts from various areas. Now, bear in mind that you've got these ridges on either side of the site that are going to inhibit views of the site from the surrounding roads and neighborhoods. The only places that you'll see, so here's Interstate 80, and again, I apologize, you really need to be closer to see this. From Interstate 80 up here, as you're driving by in the winter with no leaves on the trees, you'd be able to see the top of the nearest building. From Berkshire Valley Road, and I'll show you in a moment where these photos are taken from, because, and again, I know it's hard to see from that distance, but because of the change in elevation, because of these ridges, you won't see a thing.
Right.
Here's another view from Berkshire Valley Road. You know, the view line is literally through the ridge. From Howard Boulevard, same thing. We have different view studies from Howard Boulevard. Much of the area of Howard Boulevard up here, you won't see a thing because of the ridge line. There is an area, and again I'll show you in a moment, where, and by the way, all the trees around the perimeter are staying. We're not cutting any of them down. The only tree, and all this, the only things we're going to cut down out here in the fields where it's mostly brush and a lot of the trees are already taken down. Not immediately here because the buildings are going further out, but we're not taking down a lot of trees. There is a tree study that's submitted with the application that estimates the number of trees, because you can imagine how long it would take to count everything. But from Howard Boulevard up near the Route 80 interchange is about the only place, as you're driving on Route 80 and when the leaves are off the trees, I'm sorry, when you're driving on Howard Boulevard up near Route 80, you might be able to see the top of one of the buildings, and that's depicted here. So, just to see the context of those view angles, here's a map, and you probably can't see these lines. Again, I'll leave these up here for anybody to see. You won't see from this area of Howard Boulevard anything because of the ridge line. This is the area. Here's Route 80. Here's the rail line. Here's Howard Boulevard. So up here, if you're on Howard Boulevard, way up towards Route 80, that's the only place really you'd see anything, and only if there are no leaves on the trees. And honestly, because of the density of the trees, you probably won't see anything anyway. And then up here from Route 80, which is really a higher elevation, you would see it when leaves are off the trees. But certainly around the perimeter of the site, Howard Boulevard, you wouldn't see a thing. From this area, I know there's some residents on this end of Hercules Road. Just sheer the distance, all these trees are going to stay, so you wouldn't see anything. I mean, even from standing on the site here, if you look to see the yellow structure, the yellow shed out here, that now, the buildings are going to be higher than that, but that gives you a context as to roughly where the buildings are going to be. And how if you're out on Hercules and certainly Route 46, you wouldn't see a thing. So that's really some substance of my presentation. As I said, the application has been filed with the planning board. It was important to us when we were working on this deal with Hercules. Sorry, there's so much talking. It was important to us that we made sure the community was aware of what was going on. We knew that the community really hadn't been on the site in, probably forever, but we didn't want sort of that air of mystery and rumors and innuendo always comes from that. So we want to make sure people came to the site, that they could see it, that they were aware of what is going on or what we're proposing, and that they would have the opportunity to answer questions. Again, at a public hearing, we have no idea when that's going to happen, when the public hearings will be held by the planning board, but the applications are in. I encourage everyone to look at the website, and I'm here for other questions.
How will we hear about the public hearings then? I'm just curious.
So we will, whenever it's, first of all, I'm sure you'll hear about it. It's scuttlebutt around town. I'm sure it'll be advertised in the papers, but we, as a matter of law, as the applicant, have to publish notice in the local newspaper, and we have to mail notices. Now, that's only to people within 200 feet of the property, so it's really only going to be to people, probably you will probably get it, people who live back here on Berkshire Valley Road. So if you don't live really very, very close to the boundaries of the site, keep an eye on the newspapers. It's not going to be for a few months. I would bet.
Would you guys consider making a forum or an email list on your website that people can sign up for and get that information? Because we didn't get some of it, and we should have gotten all of it.
Well, there's been nothing mailed out yet.
I know, but I'm saying in the future, going forward.
Yeah, if you want to, you know,
Have somebody do it on your
I tell you
website.
what we'll do.
Stand that piece.
We'll create, yes, just to leave a name and an address, and that's a fair request. Yeah, that's fine. Yes.
What's the initial reaction to the town council and planning board to this project?
Well, we haven't spoken to anybody on the town council yet. We did reach out to the mayor and another member of the committee to let them know what was going on and invite them to the site. You know, they've declined thus far. We've met, as I said at the outset, a couple of times, the master planning committee, to let them know, to get feedback and to let them know what we were proposing. That goes back as far as December 2019. And then, you know, then it kind of lost communications after that.
Are they positive about this or negative?
Well, at one point we were proposing a bigger project, and what we were told is it's too big, and there were concerns about the traffic, and so we scaled the project back. So, you know, the zoning does permit, I encourage you to look at the zoning. The zoning does permit the basic use. Everything that we're proposing here is permitted. The only quirk is that the zoning for this particular site does say only 60% of buildings can be used for warehouse usage. The other 40% would have to be for other uses. So we are asking for relief from that. But as far as the height, the setbacks, everything else is fully compliant with the ordinance.
Can I I'm always just trying to learn, so I hope that's how I'm coming across, people. Your company, Hearts, how does it benefit from coming into areas and doing this? Just how do you, I mean, obviously, you find areas because you need to have land to build for your uses, but, you know, how does it impact, you know, I know how it impacts the community. How do you get paid for it? How does this work where you come into territories that are local communities and you build on it?
Yeah, well, this site, for example, is a great example because it's a former industrial site, formerly contaminated, that, you know, could be put to active use. And there's an economic report that's on the website. Part of the application has been submitted, and the taxes that we're projecting, based on the rents that we would collect, would be about $5 million a year on a site that's only generating, I think, 700,000 roughly. I don't remember the exact time, but the point is, the net increase in the tax ratables on a site that is historically contaminated, historically heavy industrial use, is going to increase by about $4.25 million. That's just for a combination of the town and the school district. The school district, I think our projections would get about $3 million a year from this.
From building this.
From building this. That's correct. That's correct. So you know, yes, we get rents, and we create about 1,200 jobs at this site, and about 1,100. Projected about 1,100 construction jobs that would last several years, and the town would get pretty substantial tax ratables.
And when do we think it might be over? Complete? It's hard to say, I'm sure.
What do you mean by over?
When this
fully built and operational?
Yeah, it's complete. It's hard to say, I'm
hard,
sure.
I'd say very hard to say. You know, it's depends how long the application process takes, the permit process takes. You know, we would love to put a shovel in the ground as soon as possible, but that's not possible. So I really don't want to guess, because I don't want to either build up hopes or get people.
Sure.
You know,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And could you just spell your name?
Yeah, my last name is Rad. It's Rhatican. Radican. James is my first name.
James. Thank you.
You're welcome. So,
Do you have a business card or anything?
I do.
Website information?
Yeah, the website is roxburycommercecenter.com. I do have some of my business cards. It doesn't have that website on it, but I'm happy to give you. I think I've got about half a dozen, so can't give one to everybody. But
you know, for the people who live on this road and the other end of the road, the biggest sticking point in all of this, because this isn't terrible back here, although we're eliminating a lot of wildlife space, is the park. If that could be put back to single-family housing like it used to be, you'd be returning it to the use it had before, and that would be nice and neat to fit in with the environment. apartment building right there doesn't fit in, so
For
think
rent?
about that.
I understand.
You know, put it on 46 where you have that open space across from B&W.
Yeah, that's not, it's not, look, it's not zoned for that, but if that's the preference of the
How hard
town.
would that be? You got a council representative here.
Well, she
Get to
can't,
work
she
on
can,
it.
in fairness,
She can't
you
do
know,
it.
she can't speak for the council. We don't wanna put her on the spot, so. But,
That's what she gets paid for.
well,
Yeah, big bucks.
I get it, but there's, you know, there's a full township council, it's not
I
just
think we
one.
have an attorney here from the council too, don't we? Is that, no, there's not, I don't know why I thought one of the gentlemen sitting here was an attorney for the council, sorry.
I have a question. I'm just looking out to the west over here. I see those buildings,
Yeah.
and I'm just looking at the Google Earth on the phone there. Is that approximately at the center of the site, those buildings there?
No.
It goes way further, and those,
Further in this
that
direction.
ridge line of the trees there, is
Yeah.
that on this property?
Yes.
So Howard is beyond that ridge
That's
line
correct.
there?
It's a great
Okay.
question. Thank you for
Thank
pointing
you.
that out. That's why you wouldn't see anything from Howard Boulevard. And, you know, visual impact, we understand it's a concern. By the way, I should also, for those who do live near the site, we do have on, I believe it's on the website, what's called an acoustical analysis. You won't hear anything. I mean, you can hear a little bit of the Route 80 traffic here. That's probably louder than what you would hear during the day, you know, from off the site. Standing here, yeah, you're gonna hear cars and trucks within the site. But the beauty of this and why it's such a wonderful site for potential commercial development, industrial development in particular, is because you have these ridges. And that's why Hercules wanted to be here, right? As they're making things like TNT. If there are explosions, it's not, it's hitting the ridges. So,
Have you
well,
done the physical analysis for that property over there?
I'm sorry?
Have you done the acoustics for over there?
Yeah, we did for all the perimeter of the site. So again, from where you live, yeah.
No, the other spot you're gonna build, have you done the acoustics over there?
No, that's going to be residential. You know, it's you know, it would have to comply with the, you know, the neighbors would have to comply with the zoning limits and noise restrictions as any other resident would.
Is there a reason that the housing and this are tied in together? I mean, is this an all or nothing project?
I don't know that I would say it's all or nothing, but the housing is being proposed only because it's part of the overall Hercules site that we're buying, and the town rezoned it for the affordable housing settlement, as part of the affordable housing settlement, so we figured, well, we're buying it as part of we might as well build it for the town.
Was that you or the town wants you to build it?
It's what's is zoned. It's what's it's zoned for.
Wouldn't
So
it make more sense to put the rentals up there by the train station so people could walk to the train station and get in and out of the community rather than
that makes a lot of
put the
sense.
traffic there?
That's not what that property is zoned for. That's what this property is zoned for. So again, if there's a change in the zoning, we would be happy to do that.
Try to happily do it.
Well, you know.
So in essence, you're doing it because you can. And I don't mean to be confrontational. I mean,
No,
you got a community here with like 25 houses and an industrial park. And from somebody that lives just on the other side of that hill, I have no problem with what you want to do here. Put another 110 families right around the corner. I mean, would you personally want 110? I mean, look at the area. It's beautiful up here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't raise my hands here. I mean, would you want 110 more houses right across the street from you?
Look,
or right around the corner?
I hear what you're saying. I understand the concerns, and that's why. By the way,
I actually want an honest answer.
And,
Would you want 110 houses right across the street from you? You can at least be honest.
I get it. I would not want a big apartment complex near me, but that's what this is zoned for. And so I'm sensitive to your concerns. That's why we've agreed this site would operate a lot better if we use this driveway for our, at least passenger vehicles. But out of sensitivity to this community, this neighborhood, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
But you are asking the town and the township people to rezone stuff for you.
No.
Well,
No, we're not.
I mean, you're going for permits that you really shouldn't have.
Well, the only
otherwise you wouldn't be having this to try and convince them.
I said we're not trying to convince anybody. I understand, you know, people might not want to be convinced. We're just trying to make sure the information is out there. The only exception, the technical term is variance, but exception that we're asking for with respect to the zoning is relating to the 60% limit on warehouse space within each building. Everything else is compliant. The heights, the setbacks, the size of the buildings, the amount of impervious coverage, it's a fully compliant project. And we could have, this is a public road, we could have traffic coming in and out of here, but we didn't because we are, you know, we don't want to impact this community if we can avoid it. I get the sensitivity to the proposed residential component. We get it, but that's what that property is zoned for, and we thought, because we're buying the site.
It was just recently changed, the zoning.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Right.
I think, yeah, about a year ago.
So there's a lot of other places that have similar zoning that was just changed as well.
Right. 13 sites in
13
town.
sites.
Right, yeah.
Where they want to put condos to, or
That are on
apartments.
46, that the zones just got changed on those, all these other areas that are not.
Yeah, it's not,
this.
but it's not unique to this. As you said, there are other areas that have been rezoned,
But
but
it is unique.
Is your company going to be the owners of these rental properties? Or
that's our expectation, yeah.
do you have other rental properties?
We do.
around the
Yeah,
country?
we own apartment buildings in Weehawken and Jersey City. We're building some in Cranford. We own, yeah, we have apartment buildings in a few places.
How many do you have in Edgewater, Saddlebrook, and
None.
Montclair,
None.
Chester,
None.
and all these other, right? So that's the problem. I'm sure that Governor Murphy wouldn't appreciate it if they had them built next to his house either.
That may be the case. But, you know, affordable housing is you know, I get it. You know, many communities that are impacted with that in the state, and it's the law.
And you know what?
That's what the
I'd
problem-
like to see some affordable housing go up in Mountain Lakes. You know,
Well,
instead
they
of
will.
sitting there trying to dump it off on us. You know, because we moved here because it is a country setting. I don't want to turn this place into a city.
We got it. Any other questions? Yes.
So you have a structure down there on the right side, it looks yellow from
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, what is that?
That's coming. So I should say, anything you see here, structures are coming down.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's an old shed that's been on the site for a long time. These are just vestiges of the old operations here. So that's all coming down.
Nice job, we're getting too close.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. And check out the website.
Yeah.
What is
Get it to work right.
Yeah, Roxbury Commerce Center, all one word.com.
Are all those images available on the website?
They are. If you want to come up and take a picture of them, you can. But yes, they are on the website. Because apparently the website.
I'm just starting to get cold.
Yeah.
Like when I read this,
You know, we
holding out because I want to get pictures.
wanted to do this. I know the planning board has a scheduled a hearing, but we wanted to do this before the weather turned too badly. And